Today we're going to paint this cute gnome with just 3 colors, your round brushes, some salt, and some white gouache for the beard. I'm going to start by mixing a red with yellow and quinacridone rose and just fill in the hat. Now the hat is all filled in, I want to mix up a purple or just some more dark red so that I can do the wrinkles. I'm just dabbing on the darker color while the hat is still wet, adding in the shadows so that it has dimension and looks like it's folded there at the top, and then twisted at the tip of it. There's some shadow around his nose, and then each of these little bumps on the side of the hat have a little bit of shadow. I want a little more pigment to enhance that a little bit more. Still dropping it in while it is still damp. Continuing on down to his feet, I'm giving it a base color of yellow. The foot that is on the right has some light shining on it, and so I am going to keep that in mind as I work on the slippers here. And you'll see what I mean in a few minutes. So the slipper on the right, I only painted half of it with red. More red. We're going to be working on the sleeves now. I'm going to do all of the red stripes. To brighten up your red, add a little yellow in while it's still wet. If you get an orange, add some more red. And back down to the feet. I'm going to fill in this whole shoe with red. And then again, half of this shoe, the left half of it, with kind of a zigzaggy line going down to the tip. Now I'm going to use a lighter value and fill in the other side, but leaving a tiny line for the seam of the shoe. And now for the stripes on the arms. I'm actually looking at the reference photo to see where the red stripes go, but don't worry about it if you don't get them exactly like the reference photo or exactly how I'm doing. As long as they're striped, it'll still look cute. And we're going to let those dry and come down to the legs. Same thing. If you don't get the stripes just like how I do it or like you see on the reference photo, just leave it how it is and it'll be cute. If you're not using the 3 colors that I'm using, if you're using, your regular paint box, just use the red you have in there. Use your yellow that you have. Mix them up and see what you get. Just experiment. Here I'm making a very, very pale rose color for his nose. That was a little bit dark, so I got a little more water on my brush and I'm spreading it all around. And while it's wet, I'll add a little bit darker color right underneath for the shadow. All that red is done now, so I'm mixing a green. And I watered it down so that I get a very light green. And I'm just going to fill in his shirt. And I am leaving a white area around his nose, but it's okay if you don't. We're going to be covering the whole area with white gouache for the beard. And I'm just blending it there. Getting a little more of the darker red color to emphasize the wrinkles a little more in the hat. I see some triangle shapes in the shadows. I'm not going to work on this very long. I just want a few little details to give it dimension. You can see a seam along the edge of the hat. So with a paler value of that darker red, I'm adding that in. And then adding more shadow underneath this twisted part of the hat. And now it does look more twisted back on itself and then twisted back on itself again at the very top. Now I'm adding the green stripes to the tights. Just using the same green that I mixed for the top, for the shirt. And now here with some clear water, I am drawing the branch that the gnome is sitting on. I did clear water first, and now I'm mixing a brown with what was already mixed on the palette, and I'm adding some yellow and blue to it to neutralize it and turn it brown. And I'm adding that into the clear water that I put on the paper. And now I'm mixing the different colors on the paper within the branch. And it's really fun to see them mix together and form colors that you didn't think you were going to use. Just scooch it around and mix it up there in the branch. And we're going to do the same kind of process underneath his bottom and then also on the other side. I wanted it a little bit fatter. First, just some brown, and then add in the darker colors. First, I did blue, and now I'm adding red. It's making a dark purple, but my brain is making me think that I'm seeing brown. A little yellow. That's what I love about mixing colors. More red there, and I'm making a branch. Just thought in the moment that that would be more interesting. I'm doing some clear water drops to give the wood a little bit of texture. Wait until your paper is just damp. Don't do this when it is still wet. Now I just want to make the red stripes look more red. They looked a little bit washed out to my eye. The value was a little too pale. The second coat of red really makes it stand out better. Added a teeny bit of blue there at the top of each shoe. And now I'm going over that right hand shoe with a very pale value of red, and then adding in a little yellow to brighten up that other half. Now for the background, I'm wetting this left-hand corner with clear water, and I'm going to drop in just some phthalo blue. I didn't mix it with anything. Going to be pretty careful around the outline of the gnome And then while this blue is still wet, I'm going to drop in some kosher salt. I normally just use regular table salt, but I wanted some bigger effects in this sky. And so the kosher salt is bigger flakes, and it leaves some interesting marks. I'm going to work on this area while I eyeball the part I just painted so I can get the salt on there at the right time. And I'm simultaneously painting this in and watching the pigment on the paper for the timing for the salt. You don't want it to be really wet, and you don't want it to be almost dry either. It has to be while it is still damp. There we go. I'm being pretty generous. I want it to look like a snowstorm. And now while I do the details around this part of the sky, I am eyeballing the rest of the sky for the same reason. While that right-hand side dries to the point where I want to put salt on it, I'll work on the bottom. Well, my water's not so clear anymore. That's okay. And now it's time to put salt on that other section. Pretty soon it'll be time to put it on the bottom, that left-hand side. Trying to work quickly, but also carefully. You can already see what's happening on the first section that we did. That started to dry off a little more, so I'm just getting it wet again with a little more pigment. It was too dry to put salt on. So now it's all wet again. And I'll put on some salt on the bottom. It's really neat to watch this in sped up time on the video because it doesn't happen this quickly normally. While the salt is doing its thing, we're going to use some Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleedproof White to paint the beard. There are many ways to paint white in watercolor. Usually it's to leave the white of the paper, but since this is a quick little card or just a little painting to have up in your house for the holidays or whatever, I'm just taking the easy way out and using the white paint. And that's totally fine. It's a little bit gooey, so I'm adding a little water. mixing a shadow color and adding it to parts of the beard. And then I'm going to soften those with some clear water. The beard is still wet, but it's not watery. A little bit of blue for the beard, a little bit of red for the beard. Now I'll add the little snowflake on his hat. And now to finish off the painting, I'm going to splatter snow all around the whole thing, using the same white that I was using for the beard. If you're splattering and it won't come off, you're going to have to get a little bit more water. And we're done. Once it's all dry, take off your tape and put your painting up somewhere in your house or make it into a card. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day.